Welcome back to another episode of Grit, Grace, and Growth, the podcast where we dive deep into the stories of remarkable individuals who exemplify the essence of determination, elegance, and evolution. I am your host, Laura Navaquin, and today we have an incredibly inspiring guest whose journey in digital marketing is nothing short of extraordinary. Our guest is Ali McDeavitt, a dynamic digital marketing strategist with nearly a decade of experience in crafting high impact campaigns. Ali's career took flight at a leading Orange County agency where she led and excelled as director of performance. In this role, she led innovative digital strategies and beta programs benefiting over 200 clients. Driven by an unrelenting passion to push boundaries in digital marketing, Ali transitioned to Google. She fine-tuned her expertise in full funnel strategies and YouTube ads. But Ellie's entrepreneur spirit couldn't be contained. Recognizing a unique opportunity to tackle student loan debt, she launched Bluum Digital. What story had began as a quick side hustle quickly turned into a successful business. Balancing her full-time career with dedicating nights and weekends, Ellie laid the foundation for Bluum's impressive growth. Her bold decision to become a full-time entrepreneur led her to nearly 100% increase in annual revenue in year one, establishing a Orange County office and a first full-time hire. Ali's journey embodies the grit to navigate the complexities of digital marketing, the grace in balancing ambition and personal commitments, and the growth that comes from taking bold strategic steps. As Bluum Digital continues to expand and innovate in 2024 and beyond, Ali's proven track record and unwavering commitment are setting the stage for even greater success to come. Join me today as we welcome Ali McDeavitt and speak about her remarkable journey and uncover the lessons and insights she's gathered along the way in entrepreneurship. Let's dive in. Welcome, Ali. Thank you so much for joining us for today's episode. And before we open up and talking about taking that leap into full-time entrepreneurship, I wanted to hand it over to you and share a little bit more insights behind Bluum Digital in your role.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me today. So I'm Ali. I'm CEO and founder of Bluum Digital. We are a paid media agency focusing majority on Google search ads, YouTube ads, social media ads, really any type of placement that would have paid advertising. We also offer design services, so landing page creation, image ad assets, video assets, anything that you could think of on the design side as well as some other supporting marketing channels, so SEO, email, and organic social posting, but primarily on the paid media and design side.
And that's great. And also, just to ask you, what inspired you to get into to marketing in the first place? Is this something that you grew up always knowing you wanted to, a field you wanted to be in, or was it something particularly that inspired you to go down this industry in this field?
Yeah, my answer is not particularly exciting. So I actually went to school for kinesiology, so to be a physical therapist. I got about halfway through and realized that I hated science. Had an existential crisis, called my parents. They, were the ones that coached me through. It's okay to change your major. Just get your degree. You don't have to take multiple laps in university. So my thought was, going into the marketing route, it's very versatile. And once I got out of school, I honestly just applied randomly to a bunch of jobs, got into the digital marketing side and realized that I nerded out really hard with it. And I loved it. And I loved the technical aspect. I loved the data and metrics and everything that went into it. And, we always kind of think of marketing as Mad Men, and it's something that it's all these crazy presentations and all of that. But really, it's a lot of data analysis, looking in numbers, doing a lot of, strategy and trying to problem solve. And there's always something different. So it was a lot more exciting than what I thought about with math, which not everybody thinks. But and so really just kind of accidentally fell into it.
Yeah, that's so exciting. I love those stories about, individuals who fell into their career or their line of the career. Even I have, little backstory, my sister was going to school for aeronautical engineering, and 1 year in and 1 year of tuition paid, and decided to go into take a break and then go into an entirely different field to be an RN. So a completely different jump, but she's so happy and fulfilled in her work. And I think it's so great, ultimately, not to be in a line of work for 10, 20 years, our entire career, in something that we're not satisfied in and day out.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
great. I love that. I love that. And then, so on the other side of that, did you always have the idea or plans to be an entrepreneur from the beginning?
No. So truthfully, a girl got out of school, had student loans, had debt, needed to take on a side hustle because my starting career salary was not really cutting it. And
Mm-hmm.
like I said, luckily, with this role in digital marketing, it is a really hard skill, or hard skill as opposed to soft skill, and it's
Mm-hmm.
technical, and it's something that you can take on. You can get freelance clients. And so that's what it was really at first. So I've had Bluum for 5 years actually. And it
Mm-hmm.
started off as just a freelance project, as a side hustle, as a way to pay off my loans once I actually understood what interest meant,
Yeah.
and try and get that over. And then, yeah, ultimately, saw that I could grow it, saw that I could kind of do it my way, which
Mm-hmm.
then, ends up leading into the whole reason of this meeting, of the story of why I took the leap. But I'll leave us on a cliffhanger now.
Exactly. And so at what point did you feel you were ready to take the leap? I would imagine that you started somewhat considering it, but at what point did you feel, okay, this is time. This is time for me to take that leap into full-time entrepreneurship?
Never. So it's the kind of tale as old as time, as no time is the right time, and that's really what
Exactly.
life decision. I was at a marketing agency here in Orange County for a long time. Ended up parting ways, just amicable. It was a great company, and that was the point whenever I really was going to take my business full time. And I took a 3-month break. This was during COVID as well.
Mhm.
I had a contact in that worked at Google. They convinced me to kind of put a hold on my business and to join Google. It was a really great time. It was work from home. I had a referral. It was just something a little bit too good. Not, I couldn't pass it up to really
Yeah.
try and apply. And so I did actually end up having to kind of put everything on hold for a minute, join Google, get, some really great experience there. And then it was something that it just kept tugging at me whenever I was at Google. And, it's a fantastic company, but it was something, it's like any minor inconvenience. I'm like, you know what? I have something waiting for me. I can just take it full time. Um, and it ended up being that I just wasn't fulfilled there. I wasn't fulfilled in the role. I just constantly kept thinking of, my business is just kind of like sitting on a shelf right now. And like I said, no time is the right time, and no time, you're never going to be ready. So, it was really just kind of a random moment. One day I woke up and I was like, all right, today is the day. I'm just going to quit Google and I'm going to try, because otherwise
Nice.
I'll never be able to leave this super comfortable great pay,
Mhm.
great company, unless I kind of just, irresponsibly do it. So that's where the decision really came from,
Yes.
honestly.
I
Mhm.
love that because I feel like, we both have very similar backgrounds on how we jumped into entrepreneurship full time, and although slightly different reasonings or taking that leap, but very similar. I don't know how much of my background I spent nearly 20 years in group insurance, so working for companies like Blue Cross and other insurance carriers, and in some startups and so forth, and feeling very comfortable. My husband and I, we got into real estate investing in 2015, and that was going well, to say. And we had started a nonprofit in 2020, and just starting these other businesses that it was like nights and weekends that we were working, and then hiring a part-timer person here and there to help us operate them and run them. But then we were growing a family. And in 2022, after the birth of our second child, our daughter, I eventually started coming to the point like, maybe I'm just being inconvenienced, with the lack of maternity care or whatever it may be at that particular startup I was with, that I can jump in full time, but still had that hesitancy of, well, I'm so secure with having, a comfortable salary and just the comfort of a consistent paycheck. And even took another opportunity, even though I was on the sidelines, not necessarily ready to make a move, but took another employment opportunity because a recruiter came to me and was just kind of talking to me about it. And I was like, well, this is just too good to be true. Or not too good to be true. It's just such a great opportunity. I'm going to go for it, and went for it. And then again, very similar to yourself, just with any minor inconvenience, I couldn't get the day off to go to or get out early to attend my son's jujitsu practice or whatever it may be. And it was practice. And sometimes there were tournaments, but practice. And I'm like, you know what? I really could be working for myself and be able to clock out or work it into my calendar so I'm not missing out on these things or not having to travel so much or whatever it may be. Until again, just like you keep pondering it, but it's just not necessarily ever really the perfect timing. And when is there a perfect timing for anything? I always say that until one, I think it was a Thursday or Wednesday actually afternoon, I was just sitting in my home office and my husband comes in and I just had this thought. I'm like, I don't know. I just don't know. And then I always laugh about the way my husband supports me in a way, because he's like, just do it. Just do it. Now's the time. And, like, buy a new pair of boots, just buy them. Just go for it.
Wow, I wish I had somebody supportive for buying a pair of boots.
Joke about it all the time, like, oh, I'm trying to save or do this. And he'll be the one just like, just buy the boots or just go for it or whatever it may be. And that's, essentially the response he gave me that Wednesday afternoon or whatever it may be. He's like, just leave. We can do it. You can do the businesses. He was working full time. He's like, just go for it. And I was like, okay, that's it. And the next day that was it. And I knew that there was, no turning back. Like, you got to make this work for myself. I have to make this.
Totally.
So I love the story. There's never really a perfect time, no matter how comfortable you are, even having built your businesses, because you're comfortable with the salary and so forth.
Yeah. And like, don't get me wrong, right? It wasn't just, completely unthought of. As I said, like, I'm a numbers person. So I did have a spreadsheet that was, okay, here's the salary, here's my lifestyle. I like to buy boots as well. I'm not going to stop buying boots. So I need to make sure that if I do quit, I can still afford to basically treat myself whenever I want to. So I did. I had, here's my lifestyle right now. Here's, and I don't know if you need to edit this out, but here's my oh shit column of if something happens, a housing crisis or something, or my rent or anything happens. And then, just making sure, okay, here's the time that I'm going to get back from my full-time job. In that time, how long would it take for me to build up my client base to then make more money than what I was making? And now I am, I'm a year to the month of leaving leaving Google. So this month in July is, 1 year
anniversary.
Yeah, thank you. But I am, and it's, it definitely, it's a little scary because whenever something does happen, it directly affects me, and I have an employee now, I have an office, and there's responsibilities that I have to really take into account. But it is, there is obviously the mental aspect, but if anybody's watching this, definitely make sure that you crunch the numbers, make sure that you have a plan in place, and that way you're following that plan, and you have goals that you don't want to hit, you have to hit them, and you need to make sure that you then are like on that, plan to be able to continue to afford to live, whatever that looks like.
Yeah. And 2 points I would say to that, very similarly as well. Even though it kind of came down to just that one afternoon and making the decision, but again, it's something I had thought about for a little while and just kind of sat on it, never really ready to take that plunge, but also looking at the spreadsheet. I'm a numbers person. I do the finances in the spreadsheet in our family. So I'm always spreadsheeting, what's the business or the businesses bringing in, what are our expenses, what was my contribution to the family as well with the salary that I had to make that decision, to know that there was a certain amount of savings to hold us over for a number of months to cover what I was contributing to our household and our family at that time, to be my buffer until I got things going on a regular basis a couple months later. And I gave myself like 4-month period of just, that was my personal goal of giving myself a certain goal of being, I want to be at these numbers within my business within 4 months, just to kind of, it wasn't entirely replacing my salary at that time. No, it wasn't, but just giving myself that goal of, okay, here's the next step I want to be at. And then from there, let's learn and grow and continue moving forward. And so another question for you is, what would you say when you first made that move to take the plunge? What were some of the steps that you feel are just critical to considering or implementing for your business? So has helped your business continue to scale and grow after you made the decision to go full time?
Yeah. So I hold myself to a very high standard.
Mhm.
And with that means that I love control. And I'm definitely a lot of times the person that says, if I want it done, correctly, I'll do it myself. So really trying to obviously keep that mentality because that's what keeps, always striving for getting better and all of that. But I think that one kind of maybe mess up actually that I had was, holding on to account management too long myself.
Mhm.
I'm one person. I cannot grow a business just by me managing the account. So, bringing on and relinquishing, I think a lot and like delegating and trusting people that I bring on. That is how you grow. That's how you can continue to have bandwidth. And that's how I can, be on podcasts and start doing these more networking opportunities. So I think that obviously whenever you start a business, you don't have to hire a full-time employee right away, especially if you know that you're going to probably take some sort of a cut and pay. But if there's any way that you can do any kind of commission structure or anything like that with a freelancer or a contractor or anything, so that way, you're not necessarily completely losing money,
Yeah.
but you are having somebody to come on and help,
Mhm.
then I think I wish I did that sooner.
Yeah.
Because I think I tried to do a lot of it just myself for too long, and I got in my way because I was completely overworked. I didn't have time to take on more clients, and if you can't take on more clients, you can't grow, and
Mhm.
then you get stuck. So since then, like I said, I've grown the team. I've got contractors. I've got a full-time employee now, and we've been able to grow much quicker just because we can sell more clients and we can scale our clients and we can offer new services.
Mhm.
So I think that that's probably one thing is it is kind of scary, especially if you're by yourself to say these are dollars coming straight out of my pocket that I'm going to
Yeah.
have to give to somebody. So hire somebody good and hire
Mhm.
somebody that you trust, hire somebody maybe better or smarter than you. So then that way you don't have to worry about it. And they may
Mhm.
be a little bit more expensive, take a little bit more percentage, but I think being able to truly trust your team and not have to micromanage, because then if you're micromanaging, then you feel like you're throwing money out the door because you're like, well, I
Yes.
can just do it myself. So I think that that's a really long-winded answer of don't do it all yourself.
Mm.
Obviously, you have to be bootstrapped a little bit, but if you can do something that would make financial sense to bring somebody on to um, alleviate the scalable part of your business, so
Mhm.
client management or salespeople or something, because I still do a lot of like non-revenue generating tasks that
Mhm.
somebody else would be way better than me, like
Mhm.
organic social media posting. I'm not very good at it, but I do it because it's not necessarily revenue generating for us yet.
Mhm.
Um, so anyways,
Yeah, and I love that too. And I think that's also a lesson that I learned for myself. I always say, from other aspiring entrepreneurs that I speak to or considering taking that leap, some of the things that I feel really helped me scale within that first year. So for myself, it's been about a year and 2 months since taking that leap. But two things. One was the consistency, knowing that I had to treat this just like a regular job. So although I'm an entrepreneur, I need work hours, dedicated work hours. So at a certain time, do breakfast and things with the kids, but going into my office and they know that mommy's working. So I cannot be disturbed during those times unless there was an emergency or something. But just being consistent and knowing that consistency day in and day out really helps me grow too. I'm very similar to yourself, a control freak with certain things and want to hold on to things because I want it done a certain way. And I feel that sometimes it's just easier for me to get it done. But then again, yes, hiring out other people to do things, especially. So yes, two parts is one, hiring out the scalable part. So the sales and account management, but then also hiring out services that you may not be an expert on instead of trying to take them on yourself. And I felt like in the beginning too, in order to cut costs, I was trying to take on, doing the SEO on the website. I knew how to build the website. I built the website and it was fine. But like, other things like building the SEO and just other things where I'm not the expert on, but then
Yeah,
eventually just kind of coming back to myself and saying, I need to make the investment and hire someone else who's the expert here, because if not, I'm spinning myself, spinning my wheels in a circle here, trying to learn something
absolutely.
new that I could be spending my time selling or scaling somewhere else instead of just investing the money with the
Yeah,
experts
yeah,
there.
yeah.
So,
My first hire or my first, vendor, and this is actually what I would recommend to anybody, was a tax and bookkeeping
yeah.
outsource. Because that was one where I was like, maybe I could learn how to do this myself. But number one, I don't have the time. Number two, I don't want to learn it. Number three, that is serious business that if I don't do it correctly, I don't want IRS coming and knocking on my door. So that's probably number one step that I would tell everybody. Find an accountant that can do everything for you. So that way you don't even have to worry about it. And they can save you money. So that can technically
Yes,
be revenue generating as well.
I
Unless
agree.
you're good with it, do not try and do it yourself because it can be a
It is a headache. Yes, definitely. Something I try to do for the first couple months. And then very quickly, I was like, we need CPA. We also need an attorney to just give me insight and information on certain things. We're in real estate investing for one of our businesses. So I was like, we need to go full time and get an attorney on retainer.
totally.
Yes, hiring those things out. Exactly. Overall, what would you say is an experience that you feel similar to what we have already spoken about, but something, a lesson learned as well as far as scaling your business? What other recommendations would you make as far as scaling your business? And I would think that this, varies depending on the type of business everyone is in. But if you're going to spend your time on those non-scalable things, what other recommendations would you give to a new entrepreneur to go out and invest, to grow, to get for the marketing side of it, to get seen, have eyes on their business? Where should they first look at investing for their business?
Yeah. So with Bluum, right, we're paid advertising. So a lot of people don't necessarily have budget up front to do a paid advertising channel. With me, I hate sales. I truly don't, I mean, I don't love honestly even doing this type of stuff. I'm like I don't know. I get flutters and all of that to where networking and things like that. I'm like, I don't know. Do I really need to do that? You do. You absolutely do. And honestly, Q3 has been the start of me saying I'm going to hit the ground running with networking. I'm joining groups. I'm doing these types of opportunities. Honestly, now I'm having fun with it. It's great. Held off on it way too long. It's free. Go to, meetups, do join groups that can be free. Find people that want to have guests on their, podcasts or speakers or anything like that. So that was something. And I have a few people that if they watch this, they're going to give me a slap on the wrist because they have been telling me for so long that I need to be doing these types of things. But I mean, yeah, it's, you don't have to invest dollars into it. It's just your time, which honestly, sometimes can be expensive, but it's great. I mean, you build up a network, you get your face out there. It's cost effective, and yeah, it can be super fun and be exciting too if you're launching a brand and then now you're getting to promote yourself. So I think again that's why I give myself a kick because I'm like I don't know why I didn't start doing this sooner. I'm a little stubborn, and stuck in my ways, but yeah, I would definitely say joining networking groups, looking for any type of opportunities to really get your PR basically.
Yeah, I completely agree. And would you say you had any mentors or other advisors who encouraged you more so to go? Is it friends and family or colleagues, previous colleagues, or did you have a mentor along the way who was kind of giving you some steps that you should consider taking?
So kind of a mix of all of it, honestly. I have one of my cousins, was also one of my clients, is also kind of a mentor. So he is the one that, has been telling me to go to Chamber of Commerce meetings, telling me to join BNI, telling me to get out and do luncheons and do everything. And again, if he watches this, he's going to be very angry because I kept saying, no, 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 I don't have time. I can't, I'm not going to do it. And yeah, and so he was the one that's really been pushing me and really been coaching me and inviting me to a lot of these events, and kind of got me to be starting to take things on myself and saying, okay, what other groups can I start joining, like Entrepreneuristas and things like that I really do feel like I'm more comfortable in. And I think that's the reason why I didn't love the idea of doing a lot of those things is because I didn't really feel super comfortable comfortable with some of the groups.
Yes.
They either aren't in my industry, or it's imposter syndrome sometimes, or something like that. So
Mhm.
finding and starting with communities that you really feel comfortable with, that you really feel like you can actually get something out of instead of just checking a box. I think
Yes.
that that's really important. And that's where I'm trying to start with right now, just to get myself in the mindset of being able to go out and just network myself.
Yes.
Really finding a community that you feel like can truly, truly help you and you feel comfortable with.
I agree. Yeah, I completely agree. Another thing, just knowing that you are an entrepreneur, I know sometimes, your business is your baby, at least for myself. So I put in so much time and effort and being so involved. What is a piece of information or recommendation you can give to another entrepreneur in the sense of balancing work life and personal life? So is it certain hours that you work and you make sure you cut out at a certain time, or just how do you balance your personal life and work life being an entrepreneur?
It's a tricky one. I go really extreme on both sides. I think for me, it's, obviously knowing what your hobbies are,
Mhm.
and truly making time for them. Your hobbies can be spending time with your family. Your hobbies can be, reading books. Your hobbies can be working out. So for me, I am an endurance athlete. I love racing. And so I am always signed up for a race, and that keeps me in the sense of, okay, you have to make time for this, basically, which sounds kind of lame, but also just forcing yourself. You have to peel away from the computer sometimes. Is what you're doing right in that second, working until 2 a.m., is that really going to push you further if you do it at 2 a.m. versus if you just do it at 9 a.m. the next morning?
Mhm.
So I think kind of having that mindset of, not everything is so important. I mean, it is your baby, it is your livelihood, it is, obviously important, but it's not so important that you have to keel over for it.
Yeah.
So if you can log off and do that the next day, then that's what you need to do. Prioritize what it is that you're needing to do. Is what you're working on right now and what you're stressing yourself out over, again, is that making your business money, or is it something that you just feel like you need to have? Like I was nearly, burning out on trying to do blogs, social media, appearances, conferences, all of this stuff. And some of it I'm like, okay, I can put a stop on the blogs. I can put a stop on thinking I have to post on social media every single day. Like these things, they're stressing me out, but they're not, directly impacting my revenue right now. So I need to protect my mental health. I need to see people. I need to see my family. I need to see my friends. I need to get out of the house. And really just kind of prioritizing. And then once you have time for it, like I said, now I have time to be able to kind of build up those sides of the business, but you can't do it all at once. And I think that as an entrepreneur, when you're in the first stages, you think you have to do it all at once. And that's why you don't have work-life balance anymore. And so understanding that you don't have to, and you honestly probably can't, I think that's the most important thing.
I agree. Yeah. And ultimately, what would, now that you've been an agency owner for 5 years, an entrepreneur for 1 year, what is one piece of advice that you wish you could go back and tell yourself when you were starting this journey? So even a year ago or a year and a half ago, just before starting, what is one piece of advice you wish you can go back and it would, feel a lot more comfortable now having taken the jump into entrepreneurship?
I think for me, it would have been look at the numbers a lot sooner. I think
Mhm.
I financially could have done it a lot sooner. I was just scared. Like I said, when I was at the agency prior to Google, I was really comfortable, and, it was a great job and it paid really well. And then I went to Google, same exact thing. Um,
Mhm.
and I was scared, and I was like, oh gosh, my lifestyle is going to change. So for me, once I put the numbers in, it became very black and white. And I was like, I can do this. I'm going to have to grind for the first quarter. But if I had truly, truly laid it out, then I think I would have, been a lot more at ease with the idea of it a lot sooner.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, definitely. I think for myself as well, is just have looked at those numbers and taken the leap a lot sooner.
Hmm. Yeah. Hmm.
And so ultimately, are there any pieces of information that you would like information or advice to give someone else considering taking the leap that are just kind of sitting on that fence, considering it, maybe just a little too scared? What piece or a few pieces of advice would you give them to encourage them to jump in and go after their entrepreneur spirit, their journey there?
Yeah, other than, like I said, looking at the numbers, um, have a plan, have a plan in place. Make sure that if you really do wanna do it, you already should believe in yourself at that point. Have a plan in place. You can't really just jump and hope that everything will come together because you're in charge of that. So, maybe it could happen, but maybe not. And I think for me, I'm a hype woman. I need hype people. So I talked to a lot of people really just to kind of like get me excited for it. It's like, okay, cool. Everybody thinks I can do this. Now I kind of think I can do this. That's the whole emotional side of it is we
Mhm.
all just kind of get like imposter syndrome. We get scared. We're like, what if we can't do it? Talk to your core group. And if
Mhm.
they're saying you can do it, then you can do it. Um,
Yes.
and so I think like for the mentality piece, again, you need your hype people. It's like, all right, they believe in me. Cool. If make sure that somebody has a couch for you to sleep. No, I'm just kidding. But make sure you got some support if things might go, if the roller coaster goes down a little bit, but it'll always go back up. And if you have
Mhm.
your people there that are keeping you sane and are always supporting you, then that's kind of like what can continue to drive you through it. So again,
Yeah.
obviously make sure that it makes sense and you have a plan in place, but for the mentality piece, just talk to people, float the idea and see how they act on it.
Yes, I love it. I love all of that. And I mean, I think it's great pieces of information and advice to anyone else looking to take the leap into full-time entrepreneurship. And so if there's another, I mean, there's many, but another entrepreneur out there, small business or large, where can they find you? So I will also tag your information below in this episode, but can you share with them where they can find you, social media, website, and more?
Yeah. So we're Bluum Digital, spelled BLUU digital.com. Have to be unique. And we're on Instagram, we have a website, we're on LinkedIn, you name it. And yeah, we are actually launching a new program for small businesses specifically to remove that cost of the barrier of entry into advertising. And so that's something that we're really focusing on for the second half of the year is trying to make sure that we're being good partners for our entrepreneur and our small business community. So if you've ever felt like you can't afford advertising, you can't afford an agency, maybe you can with us and you'll get 10-year experience and you'll get a full team, just, a different kind of scope of work that'll work for both sides of the business.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you so much, Ellie. Thank you so much for coming on. And again, as I shared, her information and business information will be attached below for you to follow along. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And that brings us to the end of today's episode of Grit, Grace, and Growth. A huge thank you to Ellie McDeavitt for joining us and sharing her incredible journey and insights into the world of digital marketing and entrepreneurship. Allie's story truly is a testament to what can be achieved with determination, strategic planning, and a passion for pushing boundaries. If you found this episode inspiring, please make sure to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. And don't forget to leave us a review. It really helps us reach more listeners just like you. For more updates and behind the scenes content, follow us on social media and visit us on the website at lauranavaquin.com. Thank you for tuning in. And until next time, keep embracing the grit, grace, and growth in your own journey. I'm Laura Navaquin, and I'm signing off.